NASCAR 25 has officially been out now for longer than 2 months, and if you're like me, you've been playing it almost every day since the release of the game in October. From multiplayer to single player, career mode, paint booth, all of the things that the game has to offer. But now that time has gone, the hype of course has died down, and it's time to take a proper look into what the game does great, but also what we really need going forward into NASCAR 26 and beyond. I personally stand by the fact that I think this is an absolutely fantastic start of a foundation for a NASCAR game, and I'm very optimistic for the future from NASCAR 26, 27, so on and so forth. And I cannot wait to get our hands on the next piece of content that the iRacing Studios team is cooking up for us players. What does the game do great though? You look into the gameplay and graphics and sound and things like that, and the easy things right off the bat. The graphics are absolutely phenomenal. The visuals most of the time are fantastic, with the downside of nighttime racing at the majority of the tracks where there is nighttime. Really looks so strange with that kind of foggy look on the racetrack. Not a fan of that, and I really hope that's something that's resolved going forward. Outside of that, this sunsets, they look fantastic. Daytime racing looks absolutely incredible. The sound of the game is really nice as well, and can't really speak too much upon that, but it's good enough to where I feel immersed when I'm, racing the cars. Gameplay-wise, the physics and the handling is, in my personal opinion, the most fun driving experience I've had in a NASCAR game so far to this point. And it was such a massive step up in the physics overall. Like, the cars, you can kind of feel what they're doing, but there is a downside, of course, with the feedback in your controller or your wheels. They always feel really light, and therefore that feeling of the car, I can feel what the car is doing, but I should be able to feel it way more like other racing games. There's no other racing game that gets the feedback as low as NASCAR 25 in like my wheel on absolutely maximum feedback settings. And to put it in perspective, NASCAR 25 is the only racing game where I have to turn the in-game feedback to 100%, and even at that point, I barely get half of the feeling in my wheel that I do in other racing games where I barely clip half of the feedback in the settings in those games, like Formula 1, Le Mans Ultimate, just to list a couple of games that I actively play as well. But outside of that, like I said, the cars, you can still feel what it's doing, so you're at least not left hanging of like being in an unpredictable spot, kind of like the previous series of the NASCAR Heat series. It was really hard to tell what in the world the car was actually doing, and it was so easy to lose control of your vehicle. AI racing is really fun in NASCAR 25, and I feel like the overall racing is probably the best AI racing I've ever had in a NASCAR game, but there is one big flaw that we are going to get into going forward into this video about what needs to be done going into the future of NASCAR gaming. But I mean, just the basics, the multi-lane racing, they are really difficult if you crank up that difficulty to 105. There's so many different sliders to get variance in the spread of the AI, as well as their consistency of their lap times, the incident frequency, stuff like that, to really personalize your AI experience, which is an initiative that I think other racing games need to look at going forward, is actually take a page out of what they've done with NASCAR 25's AI and adapt that into their racing games as well. But they're just a lot of fun to race with because they have that unpredictability in terms of, I don't know what lane this guy in front of me is going to take going into the next corner, so I have to prepare on the fly for what he's going to do, almost like real life next gen, say it like the mile and a halfs, where you're trying to be away from the guy in front of you in the corner, be in a different lane, but it's like a last second decision because you don't know where that guy is going to enter the corner at, so you have to be on the fly making those decisions. I've had some absolutely fantastic battles so far in just a couple of months of playing the game, and I look forward to a lot of the battles that I'm going to continue to have with the AI in NASCAR 25. The career mode's a lot of fun as well in this game. However, it falls short of just true depth, and I'm going to talk about that, of course, a little bit more when we go into the next segment. But what does it do right? Well, I mean, you could argue that if you're someone that really likes that experience of having to grind from a garbage team up to being a competitive team, this is the experience for you, because it is a genuine challenge. You will spend, at least in my experience right now in the Cup Series, I'm going to spend, the first half of the season probably running in, 25th on a good day and 30th to 35th on an average day. You really got to grind and get those good finishes and be smart and get the money for your team to invest into improving your parts. The of course, parts purchases and the whole system of buying every part for your car is really nice, and I really hope they can continue to go in depth on that. But you have to, of course, accumulate R&D points to get better parts, and as well, on top of that, the work point system in the career mode is really nice as well. I really like that, where you hire more employees. Of course, the more work points become available, the more work that can be done on your cars. I love the employees and the fact that you can hire PR managers and stuff like that. That is a really good kind of starting ground for this game, and you get those opportunities to choose between scenarios of, are you going to take money in a scenario, or are you going to take rep to do one activity or the other? So it kind of gives you some options. And of course, you have reputation in the career mode, where you, of course, are relying on that to be able to go up into the series above you. But once you get to the Cup Series, the rep continues to climb, but it becomes meaningless. So there needs to be something else with that reputation to keep the driver, the player, focused on wanting to increase that rep, because now I think I'm at rep 7 and it's completely meaningless now. So I would love to see them come up with another incentive, or even several incentives, to increase my rep and actually want to increase that going forward. Career mode stats are absolutely awesome. They have a really good baseline for the first game of this iteration, with the career mode stats from your own driver to all the other AI drivers. That is a big component for me when playing career modes, is I'm a huge stats guy, so the fact that they got that in the first game is absolutely awesome. Very happy to see that as well. The Dale Earnhardt Jr. download stuff's really cool as well. On top of that, with the turning points, and you're lucky to get like one of those per season. So if you are an average player, you're probably going to do maybe 4 or 5 seasons of career mode from ARCA, Truck, Xfinity. You might do a couple Cup seasons, so you might only see like 6 or 7 of these. I know 6 or 7, but you might only see that many of those throughout your career mode. And I know we know that they recorded like 40 plus, I think the number was. So my one concern is, going into the future, I would imagine these Dale Jr. download turning points will be recycled into future games. So I worry about them getting stale. Like, what if you get the exact same one in the next game and then the game after that? But that's the only concern that I have there. But the career mode is a really solid baseline to start from, and I hope they continue to spend a lot of focus on that. Paint booth as well. That's pretty solid for the first game, but there is some work to be done. But of course, right now you can choose from presets available, and of course, you have several different presets, not only for your paint scheme, but for your fire suits, your helmets as well. You can customize the trailer of your team hauler, I should say, a little bit. The pit box, you even have some minor customization there. You don't have, you can't choose any number you want in any series. There's select numbers in each series available. That's a little bit annoying as well on the term of shapes. You can add custom shapes to your car, but there's a pretty limited selection of shapes available, and you can only do 7 shapes per side of the car, basically. So on the left side I can do 7, on the bumper I can do 7, roof and hood and right side, they're all limited to just 7 shapes per that side. That is something that desperately needs to be changed for NASCAR 26. I think like NASCAR 15, you had like a limit overall on the car, and that was over like 1,000 if I remember correctly, so it's a huge difference there, and that's something we absolutely need going into NASCAR 26, because yeah, I mean, there's not really much freedom you have, you know, with just 7 shapes per side. Text, we need to be able to put text on the car. I understand probably why you couldn't put text is maybe for concerns in online about what people might put on their cars, so I know that's a bit of a slippery slope. So yeah, I don't really know if that's something we can really, you know, rely on them actually implementing into the paint booth anytime soon. But those are my only critiques really on the paint booth. I think the presets are really slick. The paint schemes, I've actually been able to make some paint schemes that I'm really happy with. Previously in the old NASCAR Heat series, I always hated the presets that they put in those games. I always thought they looked just not very good. And the paint booth was a big step up from what they've done in the past. So I was really happy with what we got to start NASCAR 25. But obviously want to see the things that I mentioned beforehand. Now, as we jump into multiplayer, this is going to be the last part where I talk about things that I'm really liking, and then we're going to really dive into things I want to see from not only multiplayer, but career mode and just in the game in general. Multiplayer racing is a lot of fun when you're in a lobby with people that know what they're doing, because of the handling of the game and just racing around other players. You combine those two things, there's a lot of fun racing to be had, and running different lines around the racetrack, running the top, trying to do slide jobs on the bottom. It is a lot of fun when you get in a lobby with a group of friends that are good at the game. When you're in a lobby of, honestly, as soon as you hit like 20 or more people, it turns into a disaster very, very fast. On PC, fortunately, they had an option to actually have passwords on your lobbies, which I'm not sure why they haven't implemented that on console. That's a missed opportunity that I definitely would recommend them looking at. But I've been having a lot of fun, you know, in the league racing and multiplayer when you have a group of people that know what they're doing. Not so much when you get into a public lobby and you hit 20 people or more and it just turns into complete chaos. And yeah, it gets pretty frustrating pretty quickly. But we definitely need some work done in multiplayer, is where we're going to kind of start with some points there of what I would like to see going forward. And one of the focuses has to be multiplayer. Number one, we need crossplay for NASCAR 26. At the bare minimum, we need crossplay. And on top of that, netcode is a big thing on left rears of the car. So off the right side of the player car to the left side of the car on the outside, netcode is a big thing. I had it in a league race recently where I actually turned a fellow friend of mine, Joey Stone, for a win when I was a solid foot off of his truck, and it registered on his screen that I had completely wiped him out when I wasn't even close to even making contact with him. And that was really frustrating, and that's been a big thing. It doesn't seem to happen from left front to right rear, but right front to left rear netcode is definitely a big thing. Now, super speedway racing in multiplayer is definitely the weakest point of the multiplayer racing. The bump drafting slows both cars down. You don't want to bump draft on super speedways. You have to instead get a big run and just knock the car in front of you forward and then back off and keep repeating. And that's obviously just not how it works in real life, and it's really annoying. A single player does it way better, and yeah, that's something definitely I want to see fixed as soon as possible. You know, I hate doing super speedways in online just because of that, and as well, I mean, people can't hold a line in online and you crash anyway, so it doesn't even matter at the end of the day. But as well, on top of that, one more thing I would really like to see, and I don't know if this is ever going to happen, but it would be really cool. And I'm going to take a page out of a racing game I've been playing a lot of lately, and that's Le Mans Ultimate. And they could even look at iRacing, of course, with their close ties there. They both follow very similar systems of safety rating and driver ratings. And I think there needs to be a genuine online structure that follows the iRacing and Le Mans Ultimate format of those ratings, and therefore really gets players more interested in doing some clean online races like those two games. And you know, that way you're really going to build credibility in your multiplayer racing now. And you know, Le Mans Ultimate has presented such an absolutely fantastic online experience for me so far with those ratings. iRacing's done the same as well. If we could get something, a more legitimate experience for multiplayer instead of here's some lobbies, go in and pack a lobby and crash instead. I would prefer, more of a genuine online experience that would open up a whole new door of players, in my opinion, for this game series going forward. So I think it would be a really good idea to look at that. Another thing, I think this is another priority, like crossplay, league racing tools, being able to set up a league in the multiplayer section of the game, and therefore it can take, of course, care of all the points for everybody and whatnot, and maybe a bit of customization for the league owners on if they want playoffs or not and stuff like that. And and people can register for the league, register for the events that are coming up, so you can schedule the events ahead of time. Stuff like that, I think, would be really a big thing that we would all be a fan of. All players, I think, would love that. Those are the main things that I have for online right now. And now we're going to jump into, we'll skip past the paint booth because I already kind of threw in the things that I want to see in there first going forward. So now we just kind of jump into the game overall and a bit of career mode as well. And my number one priority that I want personally to be improved upon for NASCAR 26 is the AI. And I've talked about how much fun I'm having with the AI, but there is one very serious issue with the AI in this game that personally I don't see myself going beyond 2-3 seasons in the Cup Series and my career mode series because of this. And that's the fact that it's the same drivers running up front every single race pretty well. Outside of a road course or a super speedway, you'll get some differentiation there where Shane Van Gisbergen runs up front at a road course as expected, and then super speedways, it's just, who knows? It just comes down to timing and who's in up front at the end. But at mile and a halves and short tracks and all the, kind of speedways in between, it's the same 5 or 6 drivers running in the top 5 or 6 the majority of the time. Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, William Byron, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, you put him up there. Those are like the 6 or 7 drivers that are always running in that kind of group of positions. And it's surprising because I have had different winners in like the first 7 races of my career mode, which that's great. However, it's still the exact same guys taking up those spots up front, so that it gets really old really quickly, that there is just no variation in the AI like we've had previously, and I'm not sure what the reason is for that. Now, we of course have a very unique rating system for the drivers in NASCAR 25, and I think a really cool rating system where they take real life data from NASCAR Insights, and that feeds into the rating of each driver. As cool as I think that is, that could be where the problem is, because William Byron, for example, I mean, if he has a 93 speedway rating, he's going to run on that 93 rating. There's no variation, and I think that's where we need to go forward is, okay, if a driver has a 90 rating, well, he can now run in a variance of, say, 10 points. So he could, even worse, maybe even give it like a 20 or something. I don't know, like he can go into Las Vegas with a 93 rating, but he could have a randomizer, so he could show up and run at a 95 this day and be unbelievable, or he could show up and run at like a 75 and have a really off day, like we've seen in NASCAR Heat games, which I think has the best variance in AI. Some drivers show up and are super fast, and then some drivers show up that are usually top 5 contenders and race winners, and they run 20th one day, just like real life. And sometimes in that game, NASCAR Heat 5 specifically, you would have a 20th place car on the regular show up and nail it for the day, and next thing you know, they have a top 5 day and sometimes even sneak into a chance to win the race. Those are things we really desperately need, and I'm confident we're going to get that going into NASCAR 26, because I think they are aware that's something that absolutely needs to happen as well. Another thing with the AI, pitting. That is probably the most frustrating part of single player. in NASCAR 25, outside of the whole lack of AI variants, is just the fact that they can absolutely haul the mail into the pit lane. The developers have done a really good job of actually improving on it, but it still needs some work. But they can get into the pit lane a lot faster than you, so I have had to turn black flags off in single player after like the first week of this game, so I can match what they're doing into the pit lane. So I speed into the pit lane every time, and then they always seem to have faster pit stops than you as well, and they can also just take off out of the pit lane better than you. So anything related to the pit lane, the AI is, I mean, phenomenally better than the player is in the speeds. And yeah, I mean, that's always really frustrating. That's something absolutely they need to work on going into NASCAR 26. And a little side note, pit stop times I think need to be improved as well, because in a next gen car I am sitting there for about 16 seconds. In real life that's about a 10-second pit stop. Even if I take only say 1 can of fuel and 4 tires, that should be about a 10-second pit stop, maybe an 11-second pit stop on a bad pit stop, but no, I'm still sitting there for 15 plus seconds. So that's something I would love to see improved upon going into NASCAR 26. And also Truck Series and Xfinity Series getting non-next gen pit stops would also be a very welcomed addition, but maybe not necessarily the priority going into that game. Looking at just single player, and also would like to see the stuff in career mode as well. Burnouts, I mean, that is another thing that's got to be a priority going into NASCAR 26. A better presentation, I would think, overall. I think the presentations got started off in a really good spot for the most part. I felt like the only part of presentation in NASCAR 25 for the races that was really lacking was when you actually win, because you can't do a burnout and then your driver is in the pit lane and he climbs through the window net and pumps his fist. It's like, I just won the Daytona 500 and I had the most mellow celebration ever. So that's something I want to see drastically improved upon going into NASCAR 26 and beyond. And like I said, burnouts as well. The replay system, that is definitely another thing that needs a lot of work, because you have these cameras that are way zoomed out of the cars a lot at tracks, and then sometimes the camera won't even be looking at the cars. They'll be like, the cars will go by the camera, and then that camera will stay for 10 seconds sometimes until you wait for the next camera to pick up the cars going past. So that's very annoying and a bit biased for myself. This is the hardest racing game I've ever played to get thumbnails in. I mean, unbelievable. And another side note, a photo mode would be really cool going forward now. I mean, pretty well every racing game has a photo mode, so I think that would be really cool in the NASCAR games as well. So definitely need to improve upon the replay system going into the future, and if we could expand on that, caution replays at some point would also be really beneficial to the players. Let's talk about the main thing now, and that's career mode. What do we want to see differently? I already talked about what I like about career mode. There's a lot of things to like about the career mode currently, and I'm having a lot of fun still with it, and the racing experience with the AI packed with the career mode experience, it's so much fun. However, there is still some issues that need to be worked on, and just things as well that I think they could do that aren't issues, but I want to see them do maybe going forward. But let's just kind of look at some of the issues right off the bat. I mean, the number one thing that actually stuck out to me was the All-Star race situation is really weird, because we don't have Mexico in NASCAR 25, but we have North Wilkesboro, which takes up the slot and turns into a points race, but it's also considered an all-star race, so it only pays out to like the top 3 drivers, and the winner gets $1 million, and that whole system, I'm not going to dive deep into it, but that was it's really weird, and that needs to be definitely fixed up, because it did not belong in the way it was implemented into the career mode, and it was really frustrating how that works out. But that was the first thing that just kind of came to my mind. But the absolute priority for NASCAR 26, in my opinion, and I'm sure many are going to agree with this, is silly season. absolutely needs to be there. You are going to get so many more people invested in your career mode by simply adding a silly season into the game. I know it's tricky with sponsors and stuff and contracts with drivers, but when Formula One games are able to do it, you can absolutely do it in NASCAR as well, and we absolutely need this at the number one. This is the number one priority in my opinion, not for the career mode, but for the game itself going into NASCAR 26. You're going to have people playing your game so much longer if you simply add that, and as well just linear progression as well, not on top of just silly season. I want to see drivers from ARCA and Trucks and Xfinity moving up. Connor Zilisch should have been moving up into the Cup Series with me, for example, in my career mode. Corey Heim should have been going up into Xfinity, into the Cup Series. It is really just immersion killing when I go from ARCA and then I went into the Truck Series against Corey Heim, who won like 9 races, and then, oh wow, unfortunately, as I'm moving up to Xfinity after winning 2 races and losing the championship to Corey Heim, well, guess what? He's stuck here for the rest of his life. I'm going to jump up into the Xfinity Series now. See you later. And then you look at as well, on top of that, I mean, retirements. That's the thing that we need as well, because, I mean, Denny Hamlin can race until he's 70 if he wants in this game, and keep on winning 4 or 5 races a year, and he's going to go win 150 races by the time his career is over. So things like that, yeah, those absolutely, I really think we all can agree there. It needs to be in NASCAR 26. I wasn't expecting it in NASCAR 25 personally, so I wasn't like surprised when it wasn't there, but absolutely need it going into the next game. And beyond that, I mean, looking at the, parts and stuff like that and upgrading your car, I mean, I think everything in the car area of focusing on upgrading your car and stuff like that and employees, I think we just need to go a little bit more in depth in everything. I don't necessarily know what to say in terms of how, but, I'm not a game designer. If I really sat down and focused on a career mode only video, which I think I'm going to do, I can probably kind of piece some things of how to go more in depth, but definitely would like to just see everything have a little bit more depth to it, because I feel like that's kind of where the career mode lacks. There's quite a bit of stuff there, but it's only on the surface, and once you go beyond the surface, the depth is lacking, and therefore, there's not actually like a whole lot of that different components of that career mode to actually dive into, if that makes any sense. Another thing I would like to see is some kind of rivalry system in the career mode, not like the NASCAR Heat rivalry system, because that was so frustrating. You'd make a rival, and then you're pretty well stuck with that rival for like the next entirety of the season, trying to get them to stop just plowing into you. It needs to be almost like the EA games back in the day, where you'd make a rival, and then he would door slam you or right hook you into the wall, and that was it though. He cooled down. He said, "All right, we're cool, it's over." That's something like what we need for sure. Definitely would like to see that going into the next game and beyond as well. It's just some proper rivalry system just adds life to the career mode, because like I said, a lot of things are cool, but that's the kind of thing. It lacks a little bit of depth. It lacks a little bit of lifestyle, personality to it, that the player, you definitely lose out a little bit on that side of things, and I think it would just continue to engage players if we had those different things like the silly season, the retirements, rivalries, stuff like that as well going forward. Team R&D, maybe the opportunity for teams to improve or teams to continue to fall down the ladder would be really cool as well. That's probably long-term thinking, but definitely would like to see something like that as well going forward. And the next main thing is back to the AI that I kind of overlooked, is the crashing. That's something, and I want to combine this with also DNFs. So AI and player DNFs need to happen, and also like random failures. I want a random tire failure option for even the player, and also on top of that, a random mechanical failure. You can make them rare, just like real life, but there's a vulnerability there. But to go back into the crashing component, the AI crashes, first of all, fantastic that they have them, and they've also recently fixed them, so they've got them at pretty well every track again. And instead of for a period of time it was only like mile and a half and super speedways that were crashing, now I can go to a road course again and a short track and they do crash again. Fantastic. However, there is a trend of the AI crashes. They're always 90% of the time they're crashing directly around the actual player, and that is kind of immersion breaking for me, and I know it's immersion breaking for you guys after reading on Twitter and Reddit threads about the game. Yeah, it really kills the immersion when I'm like, well, 9 times out of 10 the AI are crashing like within a couple car lengths of me. It doesn't feel natural at that point. It feels forced and almost feels like I'm getting put into a wreck avoidance challenge all of a sudden. So I absolutely have no problem with wrecks happening around me, but now when it feels forced, like they're always happening around me. They need to happen naturally, like the NASCAR Heat Series, just anywhere at any point. A tire goes down or whatever it might be, and that car brings out a caution, and sometimes it is going to happen right in front of the player, and you're going to have to avoid it. I like the super speedway experience where I'm racing hard and I'm 3 wide in the middle, and next thing you know there is a crash 4 or 5 rows in front of me, and all of a sudden I actually have to do something to avoid that, to make sure I don't plow into it before the caution comes out, and I have to make some repairs. I do really like that aspect of things, and I think for the most part they've got once again a really solid baseline to kind of go off of from the current AI incidents, and I do love, of course, that we can adjust the frequency of that. There is so much customization to your race experience that I do love in the NASCAR 25 game so far. So overall, yeah, my final thoughts is still pretty well the same from 2 months ago, and that's a good thing, because I'm having a lot of fun with the game, but there's obviously things that absolutely need to be priority going forward, and some things that need to be fixed, like we talked about today. But overall, I'm having a really solid time with NASCAR 25. And I'm just really looking forward to what they have coming forward. We know there's an update coming in January. They just confirmed Portland is coming as a free update. Online's going to get some customization options where you can run any number in your online car. So there's a couple of great things on the way as well. Huge shout out to the developers, because they continued in the first month of the game to just crank out update after update to improve the game as fast as possible. They were putting out updates, quicker than AAA gaming companies to make their game better, and I mean they deserve a ton of credit for doing exactly that. Now, yeah, let me know down below in the comments, your thoughts on what they've done great, what they've done wrong, what they need to improve upon, what they need to add going forward. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, I would love to have a conversation, and we're gonna circle back to this at some point and make another video. And also, I really want to do an in-depth career mode video, like I mentioned, about things that I would like to see as well. Nonetheless, that's gonna do it for me. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.